All right, so if you could look behind me, there is white stuff, snow on the ground. So we are in winter, our first meaningful snow of the season. Whoa, watch the ice. Okay, I gotta be careful. Wow! So, winter. So this post is about winter. And don't eat the yellow snow, right? That's what they say. I don't know if you can see that. Don't eat the yellow snow. So I became inspired to come out here and talk about winter and how this is a great metaphor for your spiritual journey and how winter is actually important. The dog agrees with me. But also winter is also given short shrift. Winter is, in a lot of ways, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people, oh, winter, snow, it's cold and grumpy grump and because winter, it's cold, things are dormant, things are, hibernation is a good word for it. It seems that things are dead, like the trees. Here, looking at the trees, right? They're not dead, but they're no leaves. There's no flowers. There's like a lot of flowers around here in people's gardens and front yards, and those are gone. So, but I just want to say that winter is just a necessary part of life, of our own spiritual growth. And in a way, if you're, dissing on winter, and you only love spring and summer and fall, but a lot of people love summer because it's warm and you get to play and be outside and blah blah blah. You're actually, if you're upset about winter, and I know a lot of people, especially in Chicago, it's not too cold out today. It was cold yesterday, like 8 degrees at times in the morning, and but it warmed up today. So I decided to come out today because tomorrow and later on this week it's supposed to get colder. So I'm able to do this outside. So winter gets, I'm just putting on gloves here. Winter gets a bad rap, okay? And I just want to say that it's a necessary part of our spiritual journey. And, this is what I was going to say, is that if you're upset, you're not accepting life. If you get upset at winter, and especially a lot of people in Chicago or the Midwest, it's winter, I'm gonna move to Arizona, I'm gonna move to New Mexico. Okay, be careful, I'm going over ice. Wowee! Yeah, I fall, break a leg, and I'm like, my next post is going to be a year from now in Arizona. Is that you're not accepting life. You're telling God in a way that the polarities of this earth, of having winter and snow, is wrong, right? You want life to be a certain way. You're not accepting all of life, all of the polarities of life. That's actually one of the biggest. There's that Rumi quote that I love saying, is that he says, "Meet me in the field that's beyond good and evil, beyond polarities," right? So we have hot and warm, we have winter and summer. But when you to reach that, you accept the polarities. You accept that there is quote unquote good and evil in the world. You accept that there's winter and there is summer, right? You accept it. And when you do accept it, that's when you meet me beyond. You meet source. It's saying you meet them, but it's actually it's a realization. It just happens on its own, right? So winter is a key. It's a fundamental key that I think is really underestimated in spiritual circles. We like to talk about blossoming, and I did post on spring. I love spring. Things are, the flowers blossoming. It's about our becoming new, right? The freshness, the flowers. We become like spring is like the butterfly, right? We become the butterfly. But before we could become the butterfly, we experience the winter, right? We experience the dormancy. So everybody, in a way, before they had an awakening, was in a winter, right? If you are seeking, you are in the winter, right? You are dormant. Your spirituality, and I would say, if you're there right now, just surrender to it. Accept the winter. Accept it. Accept that you haven't blossomed yet. Just accept. Oh, okay, this is where I'm at. Because the seeking gets in the way of quote unquote finding. Because it's already here. Your true, the eternal now. Your eternal truth. The nothingness, the science. It's here already. Okay. When I was in my winter for 5 years or so, I mean, from birth to, I think I was around mid 30s when I had my awakening, mid to late 30s, I don't know. I was in the winter, right? And the winter can be hellish, right? It could be hell, the blizzards and the storms, right? And it sucks, and it's cold, and it's lonely, and it's depressing, right? But after you awaken, the winter, actually, it's not depressing anymore. It's beautiful. And some people naturally love winter, and that's great. A lot of people don't, but some people do. I kind of liked it when I was young. There's across the street, if you saw my Christmas, that's the where the manger was, over at that house that I did a little the meaning of Christmas, and it was green. It hadn't snowed yet. So yeah, so So you're in the winter. And it's okay. It's okay. And when you accept that when you accept where you're at, that's the power. But when you just accept and surrender and you just let go and you become nothing and you say, I'm done with seeking. I'm done. I'm accepting the winter that I'm in. I just accept. And then your eternal truth will reveal itself, will emerge. Because it's here. Because on some level you're not accepting. You're faulting God. You're trying too hard, right? You're do. The winter, the doers. I was thinking of Russell Wilson. I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, and you know, I like the guy. He's a great quarterback. He might not be coming back next season. I don't know. This season has been a winter, sort of disastrous season for the Seahawks, which is my favorite football team. But so they're entering the winter. But one of his things is no time for sleep. And I sort of disagree with that. I think on a couple levels, but one level is that you need to sleep and you need to experience the winters, right? The egoic, the doing energy of I gotta do. I gotta succeed in this world. And there's nothing wrong with succeeding. There's nothing wrong with having goals and, you know, their accomplishments. I mean, there are some things I'd like to accomplish, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like the single-minded, And when you live from that, you miss this. You're missing the truth, right? You're missing the truth. And it's almost like if I don't do this, if I don't have this. Oh, there's some kids playing little snowball fight. See, you can't have without winter. There's no snowball fights, right? So it's this doing, and it's like if I succeed in this, and I become this great, you know, blah blah blah. But and then what? And then what? I succeed in this, and then what? I do this, and then what? You know, there's a person. What if there's a person you accomplish everything that you set out to do, and then what? And then there's more I need to come, and then what? Well, I'll accomplish this and that, and then what? And then what? There's some they're playing, and then what? I'll let the kids go by, and then what? Well, then I'll accomplish this, and then what? And then I'll become this, and then what? And then I'll be happy because I accomplished all this, and then what? You know, so but here it's like when you're here in the eternal now, there's no I mean, like I said, you know, it's okay to, you know, okay, I'm going to do this, I'll do that. But there's no, I have to, right? So winter. All right, so I'm going to maybe go across the street here. All right. And then what? Right? And then what? Oh, those are big snowballs that they got. And then what? I get past that. And then what? That's a good thing to do. It's like, that's a good meditation. And then what? And then what?
What are you rubbing? What are you rubbing?
Oh, just about the winter. About how beautiful it is. One. Just and then what? I got 1 subscriber right now, and I love it. The winter. My thing is, this isn't, it's not about subscribers, it's about just sharing. And if it happens, it happens. 1 subscriber. That's so funny. It's like, that's the street cred, right? How many subscribers you got? Oh, by the way, thank you for whoever subscribed. And I'm sure it'll go up over time. But I haven't, I don't have any Facebook. I don't have any Instagram. I just put this up on the YouTube with no marketing. It's just finding people who it's supposed to find. The winter. So winter. Yeah, so if you're on the spiritual path and you are experiencing a winter, say if you had an awakening or you might actually feel the winter, right? During the spiritual path, even after the awakening, like the hermit phase, right? You might need to become dormant and hibernate, right? Dormant and hibernate. I have, and it's actually one of the most important things that we can do when we're on the spiritual path, especially after we awaken, is to have moments of hibernation. Have moments of being dormant, sort of huddling inside, incubating, I guess is another term, right? Because it's a hell of a process, right? It's a hell of a process. That's why you need teachers. That's why there's books out there. Because to help guide you through the process and let you know that things are okay. Right? Right? Because the winter, oops. Oh. The winter, I'm gonna do that. Because the winter, and just to let you know that it's a natural phase, is being fallow, being like this. Sometimes it's just showing you is better than telling, right? Just being like these trees. being like the snow. Alright. And there's a basketball court. In the summer, there's people playing on it. Right? There's activity. But during the winter phases, and I'm talking about phases, you might have more than one winter phase. And I definitely have had at least a half a dozen, maybe even more, at varying lengths. And it's okay. It's okay to take retreat from the world in a way and sort of hibernate, right? Because like I said earlier, the sort of close down for the winter, right? This is a good, there's a spot right there that's open during the summertime. They sell like burgers and hot dogs, but they're closed for the winter, right? So it's almost like metaphorically, so it could be in the summertime, but you close down for the winter after your spiritual awakening. You need to hibernate, and it's okay. It's okay, because it's a hell of a thing, like I said earlier. You're in this lifetime and past lives, whatever, you were living in egoic consciousness. You were driven by the madness, the insanity of egoic consciousness through separation. And then you have this awakening, and especially after the bliss stage, the honeymoon period in the beginning, you come crashing down, and your body's not used to it, and your psyche's not used to it. Your physical body's not used to it, right? So there are many times that you need to retreat. You need to hibernate and sit with things. Doing a lot of shadow work, in a way, is like the winter, right? It feels cold and lonely, and you're facing all these demons and stuff like that, right? So the winter, and it's important. It's vital, I would say. It's a vital thing. So if you are somebody who has had an awakening and feels stuck, I would say you may need to go through the winter phase and retreat and process things. You see, the winter, it looks like there's no life. It looks like there's, right? It looks like it's dead. But there's life out here, see? Like if we were in the woods, we see footsteps that's humans' footsteps, but we'd see footsteps of like deer and rabbits. There's life, and there's life going on in the trees. The trees are still alive, and underground, there's still life. Things are still alive, right? But things are dormant. So just recognize that you have to go through this phase the winter phase. A few times. We're gonna go over to this. Just realized this would be a good thing to go to. Is they had like a garden over here. Winter, and you see these are tennis courts and soccer. See, people were playing soccer and people were playing tennis, and now it's not that time. I think for every season, turn, da 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 da. You know that song? I think it was from the Ecclesiastes, from the Bible. I think that's where the words came from. But there's a season for everything. You can't keep. I mean, you blossom in a lot of different ways. But once you blossom, you know, and you're flowering. But you can't. You know, there's in the human experience, there's drop off, right? Or you have to. You know, we all have to go through the different seasons, the different changes. This is the. See this, there were flowers and they were growing things here, and now it's dormant, and then next year they will, when spring comes, you see. So in order for the spring to happen, we need to have this winter, right? Metaphorically speaking, because obviously there are places near the equator where obviously it doesn't snow and there's no winter, but metaphorically, we need to go through this, and because everything can't be the summer, right? It can't be all this warm and everything's, it's summer and it's great and everything, and you know, summer can be a metaphor for, you know, doing and being alive in the world, and that's great, and that's wonderful, and that's a great time, right? You know, doing this goal, the summer, you know, but and some people they just want to continue it. They don't. Some people, that's why they burn out. It's because they don't recharge. They don't go to the winter. They don't recharge their batteries, right? And the same thing for you on the spiritual path. I mean, the spiritual path, it's very, I mean, it takes a lot of energy. People don't realize sitting with pain bodies. I mean, you could sit with pain bodies. This has been my experience, especially early on. And you could just be sitting with them or laying with them for hours, and you could first of all, burn up a lot of calories, and B, you can be, you could feel like you were in a football game and you've been tackled, 10 or 20 times really hard, right? So even though you're just sitting with things, right? And you're healing things. So just learning how to sit with things, awareness. It takes a lot of energy, especially in the beginning, because we're not used to it, right? Yeah. So winter. So it's like the people who get burnt out, they just do. And the body naturally needs to rest. I guess the winter is also kind of resting in a way. Could be seen going over some ice here. So the winter could resting, and then when you rest, I mentioned this earlier, then you become a butterfly. Then you blossom in the springtime. You blossom with new insights. After you awaken, you blossom with new insights. Because you keep on growing, right? And the winter, it could take a while. It could take, months to and years, all depending. And yes, you could get stuck in the winter. So for some of you, maybe, everybody's different, but you could get stuck at being in the winter. So that's just something to look at. One thing I wanted to mention was that we're in this do culture of doing, and like that quote Russell Wilson said, "No time to sleep." And it's like that's why drugs are created. That's why like speed and cocaine or whatever, because people they have to be up all the time to accomplish this, get this done. If I'm not up, these tech workers or just workers in general who work all these ungodly hours a week, 60, 70 hours a week, my God, right? And you could work, and sure, you're a success, or you can think you're a success, but you're missing out on life. You're missing out on life. There's a train in the background. Okay. Some more ice over here. So yeah, the winter. So if you live in a area in the world, northern hemisphere or southern, because parts of the southern hemisphere gets a winter, embrace the winter. Do a walking meditation in the snow. See the beauty. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Accept it. Accept the cold. My fingertips are getting cold. Accept the cold. Accept the rhythms of nature, right? They have a lot to teach. And that's why winter is a part of that, right? Right? It's beautiful. And be careful. Be careful in the snow with the ice. It actually, in a way, it makes you present, because you have to be present with what is. All right? Yeah. Without the winter, we can't have the summer. Without the spring, we can't have the fall, And each one has their beauty and each one has their purpose. So the awakening, the blossoming, if the spring, if you want to call it that, has its purpose. Obviously, it's beautiful, but the seeds, in a way, the winter allowed it to happen, and then the summer, metaphorically could be you being in the world, integrating, sharing your integration or your spiritual growth. And it's beautiful, and the bliss, it's a honeymoon. I remember sitting on park benches and just being blissed out, or just doing a lot of walking meditations in parks and zoos. And it was just beautiful, and then that time passed, and the fall came in, and certain things of my ego started falling off, like leaves off a tree, right? And then a winter came, the dark night of the soul, blah blah blah, so and then after the dark night of the soul happened, I blossom again, and you'll blossom again in a different way, right? And then that's just the nature of growth. If you think about it, the circuit, you go through this. So before awakening, you're in winter, and then you awaken. That's the spring, and then summer. You're growing, and you're prospering in a way, and then certain things of your ego or things, you start falling away, and then you go into a winter again, and then you reemerge. You grow. You're doing, and then you're different. I mean, I'm very different than I was in many respects years ago. Even last year, in a way. Even 2 weeks ago, in a way, right? There's just this massive growth, right? I mean, you could, in a way, some people, in one day, you could do that whole cycle. You could do, you could feel like, oh, I'm doing this winter. Oh, I'm just feeling like I just need to process some things, or just be alone, right? And then you process it, and then you bloom, right? And then you're busy with activity, bloom with summer, and then something happens or whatever, and then you realize that this needs to, these friends or these people in my life, they're just not serving me anymore. Okay, they fall away. And then you go through a winter again, and blah 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 blah. So it just just continues. But the one thing that doesn't change, and the one thing that is changeless, that's not affected by any of these cycles, is your eternal truth. All right. This is the tree where my first few videos, where I would, in the springtime, last spring, when that was blooming with flowers, you see. So in about, let's see, it's early January, in about January, February, March, April, so 3 or 4 months, that tree's going to be full of flowers. See, spring, and then summer, and then it gave away the flowers, and then the fall. You see, the trees are, and then it falls, and then the leaves turn colors, and then it changed, and now it's dormant. So winter. So embrace the winter, embrace the hibernation, embrace the winter outside. Okay, there, outside. The house is like empty, so there's emptiness. Embrace the winter on the outside and inside. Embrace it. Accept it, and then presence, and then will be revealed, or you'll reconnect to it. It's always here. All right, so love you, and until next time, until we meet again next time in the changeless, the accepting phase of whatever you're going through, because it's always eternal now. Bye-bye.